Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, it doesn't matter. What matters is that right now, in this very moment, you have the power to make a decision that can change your life forever. Listen to me. Life doesn't change by accident. It doesn't change by wishing, hoping, or waiting for the right time. Life changes the moment you decide it must change. Some of you right now are stuck. You're in a cycle, doing the same thing over and over, getting the same results, feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, maybe even defeated. But let me ask you, are you really willing to settle for this? Or are you ready to step up and demand more from yourself? Because here's the truth. Write this down. Your life will never exceed your standards. If you accept average, you will live an average life. If you demand excellence, you will create excellence. So how do you change your life? 3 things. Write these down. 1, change your state. Emotion is everything. How you feel determines what you do. And most people live in a state of fear, doubt, hesitation. But listen, if you want to create change, you must take control of your emotions. Get your body moving, change your breathing, shift your focus. Energy is the fuel of transformation. When you master your state, you control your destiny. 2, change your story. The story you tell yourself is either your prison or your power. Some of you are walking around with a story that says, I'm not smart enough. I'm not lucky. I don't have the resources. Stop it. The only thing holding you back is the belief that something is holding you back. Tell yourself a new story. I am powerful. I am unstoppable. I can and I will. Because when you shift your story, you shift your action. And when you shift your actions, your entire life transforms. 300, change your strategy. Success leaves clues. If you want to change your body, your finances, your relationships, find someone who has already done it, model their strategy, and execute with massive action. Don't just dip your toe in the water. Dive in like your life depends on it. Because guess what? It does. Final message. Decide now, right now, at this very moment, you have a choice. You can go back to your old patterns, your old excuses, your old limitations. Or you can draw a line in the sand and say enough is enough. Decide right now. Because the truth is, your life won't change someday. Your life changes the moment you decide it must. And that moment is now. Let's go! Your life changes the moment you decide it must. It's not about luck. It's not about waiting for the right time. It's not about external circumstances suddenly aligning in your favor. It all comes down to a single moment of decision. A moment where you say, enough is enough, and mean it. Most people live their lives on autopilot, going through the same motions, feeling stuck in the same patterns, and wondering why things don't change. They wait for the outside world to change before they take action. They say things like, I'll be happy when I get the promotion, or I'll start taking care of my health when things settle down. But that's the exact mindset that keeps people trapped. Because the truth is, change doesn't come from the outside, it starts within. Your emotions control everything. How you feel in any given moment determines the actions you take, the decisions you make, and ultimately the life you create. Most people think their emotions are just reactions to the outside world, that their state is determined by what's happening around them. But the truth is, your state is something you can control at any moment. The difference between someone who is thriving and someone who is barely surviving is the ability to manage their emotional state. The way you feel is not just something that happens to you, it's something you generate. If you look at high performers, at people who create incredible results in their lives, you'll notice something different about them. They carry themselves with energy. They move with confidence. They don't wait to feel motivated. They create motivation. Because they understand that how they feel dictates how they act, and how they act determines their results. They have mastered their ability to shift their state instantly, no matter what's going on around them. They don't let external circumstances control their emotions. They take control from within. Most people live in a reactive state. They wake up and check their phones first thing in the morning, immediately bombarding their minds with emails, messages, and notifications that dictate how they feel. They go through their day responding to whatever happens to them, letting external events determine their emotions. If things go well, they feel good. If things go wrong, they feel stressed, frustrated, or defeated. But this is the fastest way to stay stuck, because if your emotions are always at the mercy of the outside world, you are never in control. The most powerful people in the world, the ones who create lasting success, understand that their emotional state is their responsibility. They don't wait for things to change to feel good. They change their state first, and then everything else follows. They know that if they can put themselves in a peak state consistently, they will take the kind of action that produces extraordinary results. They use their physiology, their focus, and their language to create the energy they need to dominate in every area of life. Your body is the fastest way to shift your state. If you're feeling tired, sluggish, or unmotivated, it's not because of your circumstances, it's because of how you're using your body. Every emotion has a physical pattern. When you're feeling powerful, you stand taller, you breathe deeper, you move with certainty. When you're feeling depressed, your shoulders slump, your breathing becomes shallow, your movements slow down. The moment you change how you use your body, you change how you feel. It's instant. Try this right now. Stand up tall, put your shoulders back, take a deep breath in, and smile. Feel the difference? Your body sends signals to your brain about how you should feel. If you want to feel confident, move like a confident person. If you want to feel energized, move with energy. It's that simple. The second way to control your state is by managing your focus. Whatever you focus on, you feel. If you focus on what's missing in your life, you'll feel lack. If you focus on what you have, you'll feel grateful. If you focus on problems, you'll feel overwhelmed. If you focus on solutions, you'll feel empowered. Your brain is always looking for what you tell it to find. If you constantly focus on what's wrong, your mind will keep showing you evidence of it. But if you train yourself to focus on what's possible, on what you can control, on what's good in your life, you will experience a completely different emotional state. It's not about ignoring reality, it's about choosing what part of reality you give your energy to. Some people wake up every morning and focus immediately on stress. They think about everything they have to do, everything that could go wrong, everything that's missing. And then they wonder why they feel anxious and overwhelmed. But successful people condition their focus. They start their day by focusing on gratitude, on possibilities, on what excites them. They don't just let their thoughts wander, they direct them with intention. And because of that, they create a state of mind that drives them to take massive action. The third way to shift your state is through the language you use. Words are powerful. The way you talk to yourself determines how you feel. If you constantly say, I'm exhausted, guess what? You'll feel exhausted. If you say, I'm frustrated, but if you shift your language, if instead of saying I'm overwhelmed, you say I'm in demand, it creates a different feeling inside you. If instead of saying I'm stuck, you say I'm learning, your brain will respond differently. The words you use shape your emotions, and your emotions drive your behavior. Think about two people going through the same situation. One of them says, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And the other says, this is my greatest opportunity to grow. Same event, different language, completely different emotional state. One person feels powerless, the other feels in control. Your words create meaning, and meaning creates emotions. If you want to master your state, start mastering the words you use daily. The truth is, the people who succeed in life are not the ones who never face challenges. They're not the ones who have perfect conditions. They are the ones who have trained themselves to operate in a peak state no matter what. Because when you're in a peak state, you make different decisions. You show up differently, you push harder, you think clearer, you perform better. And when you operate from that place consistently, you create results that other people only dream about. The biggest mistake people make is thinking that their state is something that just happens to them, that they have to feel motivated before they take action. But motivation is a myth. Motivation is not something you wait for, it's something you create. And the fastest way to create it is by changing your state first. You don't wait to feel confident to take action, you take action, and that builds confidence. You don't wait to feel energized before you move, and that creates energy. You don't wait to feel ready before you step up, and that's what makes you ready. Every single day you have a choice. You can wake up and operate in a low energy state, letting circumstances dictate your emotions, going through the motions, and getting average results. Or you can wake up and take control of your state, generating energy, shifting your focus, using powerful language, and stepping into the best version of yourself. Because when you control your state, you control your life. Think about a time in your life when you made a real decision, not just something you wished for, not something you thought would be nice, but a real committed decision where there was no turning back. Maybe it was a moment when you decided to leave a toxic relationship. Maybe it was when you finally got serious about your health. Maybe it was when you made a bold career move. Whatever it was, you know the feeling. It wasn't passive, it wasn't weak, it was powerful, certain, and absolute. That's the level of decision that creates transformation. Most people think they've made a decision when all they've really done is expressed a preference. Saying, I want to be in shape isn't a decision. Saying, I want to make more money isn't a decision. A real decision means you cut off all other possibilities. It means you eliminate any chance of retreat. When you decide, truly decide, there is no plan B. You burn the boats. You commit with everything inside of you. And when you do that, your mind, your body, and your entire reality shift to support that decision. The challenge is that most people wait. They wait for inspiration, they wait for motivation, they wait for the right time, but there is no perfect time. There is no future moment when everything will magically align. The only time that matters is right now. Because right now is the only moment where you can actually make a choice. The past is over, the future isn't here yet. The only power you have is in this moment. Think about people who have radically changed their lives. The ones who went from broke to financially free, from unhealthy to peak performance, from depressed to unstoppable. It wasn't a slow, gradual shift that started with hoping things would get better. It was a moment where they got fed up, where they looked at their situation and said, no more. They drew a line in the sand and committed to something greater. They didn't just wish for it, they demanded it from themselves. The reason most people don't change isn't because they're incapable. It's not because they lack resources or intelligence. It's because they haven't truly decided. They've entertained the idea of change, but they haven't committed to it. They haven't reached a level of certainty where there's no going back. When you make a real decision, the universe moves. You stop hesitating. You stop questioning. You stop giving yourself an escape route. You act, you move, you execute. The problem is that we live in a world where people are conditioned to avoid discomfort. Real decisions require discomfort. They require stepping into uncertainty. They require risk. But without that, there is no growth. The greatest transformations in life come from the moments when you are willing to let go of what's familiar and step into the unknown. That's where the magic happens. That's where you find out what you're truly capable of. If you look at anyone who has achieved massive success, whether in business, health, relationships, or any other area, you'll find one common thread. They made a decision and never looked back. They didn't dabble. They didn't test the waters. They went all in, because when you're half in, half out, you will always find a reason to quit. But when you are fully committed, when you know in your soul that there is no other option, you become unstoppable. People say they want change, but their actions tell a different story. They say they want financial freedom, but they keep making excuses about why they can't start that business. They say they want to be in great shape, but they keep eating the same junk and skipping workouts. They say they want an incredible relationship, but they keep settling for less than they deserve. The truth is, people don't get what they want, they get what they demand. The standard you set for yourself dictates the life you live. If you have low standards, you'll accept mediocrity. If you have high standards, you will push yourself beyond what you thought was possible. And the moment you decide that your old standard is no longer acceptable, everything changes. Because at the end of the day, your life is a reflection of what you've been willing to tolerate. The moment you raise your standards and refuse to accept less, life will shift to match that new level. There is nothing special about the people who create extraordinary lives. They weren't born with something you don't have. They weren't handed success on a silver platter. The only difference is that they decided. They got to a point where they could no longer accept a life that was less than what they were capable of. And from that moment on, everything changed. What if today was that moment for you? What if this was the second you decided, truly decided, that things would never be the same again? What if you stopped waiting, stopped hesitating, stopped doubting, and just stepped up? Because the truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you your dream life. No one is going to do the work for you. It's up to you, and it always has been. There is no secret. There is no magic formula. It all starts with a decision. A decision so strong, so unshakable, so absolute that nothing can stop you. The moment you make that decision, your mind will find a way. Your body will find the strength, the resources, the opportunities, the people you need. They will appear. But none of that happens until you decide. Most people won't do it. Most people will keep waiting, keep making excuses, keep convincing themselves that one day they'll change. But not you, because deep down, you already know the truth. You know that the power has always been in your hands. You know that you are capable of more, and you know that the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is a single moment of decision. The story you tell yourself is either your prison or your power. Every single person has a story running through their mind, a narrative about who they are, what they can do, and what's possible for them. That story determines every decision, every action, and ultimately the results they get in life. Some people walk around telling themselves a story of failure, limitation, and fear. They say things like, I've always been this way, I'm just not lucky, I don't have the resources, I'm not smart enough, or people like me don't succeed. And then they wonder why they stay stuck. They don't realize that the story they keep repeating is shaping their reality every single day. The most dangerous thing isn't the obstacles in your way. It's the limiting beliefs you've accepted as truth. Because once you believe a story, you stop questioning it. You start living as if it's reality, even when it's not. You filter out any evidence that contradicts it. If you believe you're bad at business, you won't take risks, you won't look for opportunities, and even if success is right in front of you, you won't grab it because your story tells you it's not for you. If you believe you're unlovable, you'll push people away, sabotage relationships, and never fully open yourself up because your story tells you that love isn't meant for you. If you believe you're stuck, you won't look for solutions, won't take bold action, and will convince yourself that nothing can change. The story you tell yourself becomes the lens through which you see the world, but here's the truth. Your story is not fact. It's just a belief you've reinforced over time. And any belief that has been reinforced can be rewritten. The difference between people who succeed and people who struggle is not intelligence, talent, or background. It's the story they choose to believe about themselves. Successful people tell themselves a different story. They say, I always find a way. I can learn anything. No matter what happens, I will figure it out. They see failures as lessons, obstacles as challenges to overcome, and setbacks as temporary. Their story isn't that life is easy, it's that they are unstoppable. Most people don't realize their story was shaped by other people, parents, teachers, society, past experiences. All of these things contribute to the narrative running in their mind. If you grew up hearing money is hard to make, you probably struggle financially. If you grew up hearing you're not good enough, you probably battle self-doubt. If you failed at something once and labeled yourself a failure, you probably hesitate to take risks. But none of those things are inherently true. They're just stories you've accepted. The real question is, who gave you that story? And more importantly, is it serving you? The good news is that at any moment you can rewrite your story. You can choose a new narrative, one that empowers you instead of limits you. The first step is awareness. Becoming conscious of the story you've been telling yourself. Start paying attention to the words you use, the thoughts you repeat, the way you describe yourself and your circumstances. Do you speak about possibility or do you speak about limitation? Do you tell a story of power or a story of excuses? Once you become aware of it, you can challenge it. You can ask yourself, is this story really true? Is this the only way to see things? What if I chose a different belief? When you change your story, you change your emotions. And when you change your emotions, you take different actions. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. One tells themselves, this is too hard, I can't do it. And the other says, this is tough, but I'll figure it out. The first person feels defeated before they even start. The second person feels determined and pushes forward. Same situation, different story, completely different outcome. The language you use reinforces your story. If you keep saying, I'm stuck, I'm not good enough, or I can't, those words become chains that hold you back. But if you start saying, I'm resourceful, I'm strong, and I will find a way, those words become fuel that moves you forward. Your brain listens to what you repeatedly say. If you speak limitation, you will live in limitation. If you speak possibility, you will create possibility. Your environment also plays a role in your story. If you surround yourself with people who constantly complain, blame, and settle, it reinforces a story of mediocrity. But if you surround yourself with people who take action, push boundaries, and strive for more, it reinforces a story of growth and success. The people you listen to, the content you consume, and the conversations you engage in all feed your story. Choose wisely. Rewriting your story is not about ignoring reality, it's about shifting perspective. It's about choosing to focus on what you can control instead of what you can't. It's about deciding that your past does not define your future. It's about understanding that the labels you've carried are just words and you have the power to change them. Some of the most successful people in the world were once labeled failures. They were told they weren't smart enough, talented enough, or capable enough, but they refused to accept that story. They chose to write a new one where they were the hero, not the victim. People who achieve greatness have the same fears, doubts, and challenges as everyone else. The difference is that they refuse to let those things define them. They refuse to let a bad experience turn into a permanent identity. They refuse to let someone else's opinion shape their destiny. They take ownership of their story and consciously create one that serves them. They decide that no matter what happens, they will find a way. Your story is shaping your future right now. Every belief you hold about yourself is determining what actions you take, what risks you avoid, what opportunities you seize or let pass by. If you keep telling yourself a story of limitation, you will keep living a limited life. If you tell yourself a story of possibility, you will create a future that reflects that. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about realizing that you are the author of your life. You get to decide what happens next. You get to choose the meaning you give to your experiences. You get to determine whether a challenge breaks you or makes you stronger. The story you tell yourself will either keep you trapped in the past or propel you into a future of unlimited potential. Your habits shape your destiny. Everything you have right now, every result in your life, is a direct reflection of the habits you have built. The way you think, the way you move, the way you react to challenges, the way you start and end your day. These are not random behaviors. They are patterns, deeply ingrained, repeated daily, and they are creating your future, whether you realize it or not. Most people don't take control of their habits. They let their habits form by accident, shaped by their environment, their past experiences, and the people around them. But the truth is, your habits are either building you up or tearing you down. There is no in-between. Every small decision you make, every tiny action, is either moving you toward the life you want or further away from it. The people who succeed at the highest level, the ones who break barriers, defy the odds, and achieve the kind of results most people only dream about, are not necessarily the most talented or the most intelligent. They are the ones who have built habits that force them to grow, to push, to evolve, to take action even when they don't feel like it. Because let's be real, motivation is a myth. You are not always going to feel like doing what needs to be done. You are not always going to be excited to go to the gym, to work on your business, to invest in your relationships, to learn, to grow, to push past your comfort zone. But if you rely on motivation, you'll always be inconsistent, and inconsistency kills progress. Discipline is the real game changer, and discipline is nothing more than habits executed. When you look at the most successful people, you see the highlights, the wins, the achievements, but what you don't see are the countless hours of repetition, the relentless execution of habits, the days they showed up when they didn't feel like it. That's what separates those who achieve from those who struggle. It's not the big things they do once in a while, it's the small things they do every single day, even when no one is watching. Every morning you wake up, you are either setting yourself up for success or setting yourself up for failure. Most people don't have a strategy for how they start their day. They hit the snooze button, they check their phones, they react to messages, they rush into their day without a plan, without intention, without energy, and then they wonder why they feel behind, overwhelmed, and unmotivated. High performers don't start their day by reacting, they start by creating momentum. They have rituals that put them in a peak state, that prime their minds and bodies for success. They move their bodies, they fuel their minds, they set their intentions, they take control of their energy before the world has a chance to pull them in a million directions. They don't leave their mindset to chance. Because your mindset is like a muscle. If you don't train it daily, it weakens. If you don't strengthen it with powerful habits, it will be dominated by fear, doubt, and negativity. And the fastest way to train your mind is through action, small, consistent actions that reinforce who you are becoming. Every time you choose to do something hard when you don't feel like it, you reinforce discipline. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build self-respect. Every time you push through discomfort, you increase your capacity to handle challenges. And that builds momentum. Momentum is everything. When you have momentum, taking action becomes easier. When you have momentum, confidence builds. When you have momentum, your habits become automatic, and success becomes inevitable. But here's the problem. Most people build momentum in the wrong direction. They reinforce bad habits until they become their default way of living. They wake up late, they procrastinate, they skip workouts, they avoid challenges, they make excuses, and every time they do, they make those patterns stronger. And before they know it, they've built an identity around those habits. They say, that's just who I am. I'm not a morning person. I'm not disciplined. I'm not consistent. But those are not personality traits. They're just habits they've repeated long enough to believe as truth. If you want to change your life, you must break the habits that are holding you back and replace them with habits that drive you forward. And that starts with awareness. You have to take an honest look at how you are spending your time, what you are reinforcing every single day. Are your daily actions aligned with the future you want? Are your routines setting you up to win? Or are they keeping you in the same cycle, repeating the same results? If you don't like where you are, change what you do every day. Change what you focus on, change how you move, change what you consume, change what you say to yourself. Because your current habits are perfectly designed to give you the life you have right now. If you want more, you have to do more. Start with small shifts. The mistake people make is thinking they need to completely overhaul their lives overnight. They go all in for a week trying to be perfect, and then they burn out and go right back to their old patterns. Real change doesn't come from big dramatic actions. It comes from small, consistent improvements. It comes from making one better decision at a time. Wake up a little earlier. Move your body every day. Feed your mind with powerful content. Cut out the distractions that steal your time. Replace negativity with gratitude. Take one step toward your goals daily. These small habits, compounded over time, create massive transformation. One of the most powerful habits you can build is the habit of doing hard things on purpose. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort, staying in their comfort zones, playing it safe, but every time you choose the easy path, you weaken your resilience. But growth only happens when you push beyond what's comfortable. Get in the habit of seeking discomfort. Train yourself to embrace challenges, to lean into fear, to take action even when it's uncomfortable. Because the more you do, the stronger you become. The things that once felt impossible become normal. The fears that used to hold you back lose their power. You build the kind of mental toughness that makes you unstoppable. And let's talk about identity, because identity is everything. Your habits don't just shape your results, they shape who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who always follows through, someone who is disciplined, someone who is relentless, you will act accordingly. But if you see yourself as lazy, inconsistent, and undisciplined, your actions will reflect that as well. The fastest way to shift your identity is to change your habits. If you want to be a disciplined person, start acting like one. If you want to be confident, start showing up with confidence. If you want to be successful, start making decisions like a successful person. Your actions must align with the identity you want to create. The secret to long-term success is making your habits part of who you are, not just something you do when it's convenient. It's easy to stay disciplined when you're motivated. But what happens when motivation fades? That's when your habits must take over. Because when something is part of your identity, you don't need willpower. You just do it. You don't question it. You don't negotiate with yourself. You don't make excuses. It's just who you are. People who win at the highest level are not relying on willpower. They are relying on systems, routines, and rituals that make success automatic. They set up their environment to support their habits. They eliminate distractions. They create accountability. They track their progress. They make it easier to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing. They don't leave success to chance. They design their lives around it. If you want to change your life, don't wait for the perfect moment, the right circumstances, or some external motivation. Start now, start small. Start by making one better decision today than another tomorrow. Build habits that align with the future you want, reinforce them every single day, and over time they will become your new normal. Because the truth is, success is not one big moment. It's a series of small decisions repeated daily until they become who you are. Your environment is shaping you every single day, whether you realize it or not. The people you spend time with, the conversations you engage in, the information you consume, the standards you surround yourself with, all of these things are conditioning your mindset, your habits, and ultimately your results in life. Most people think success is all about motivation, discipline, and hard work, but they fail to recognize that their environment is either setting them up to win or silently pulling them down. You can have the strongest willpower in the world, but if you surround yourself with people who constantly complain, make excuses, and settle for mediocrity, that energy will seep into your life. You will start thinking the way they think, believing the things they believe, and lowering your standards without even realizing it. Your environment is like the soil you plant yourself in. If you plant yourself in toxic soil, full of negativity, fear, and limitation, you will struggle to grow. But if you plant yourself in an environment of excellence, where people push each other, challenge each other, and expect greatness, you will rise to a higher level automatically. Human beings are wired for adaptation. We adjust to whatever environment we are placed in, for better or worse. If you spend enough time in a room full of winners, you will start thinking and acting like a winner. If you spend enough time in a room full of people who settle, you will start lowering your expectations for yourself. This is why your peer group is one of the most powerful forces in your life. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Their mindset, their habits, their beliefs, these things are shaping you every single day. If the people around you are constantly negative, blaming others, playing the victim, and making excuses, you will start to absorb that mentality. But if the people around you are driven, focused, ambitious, and constantly growing, that energy will push you to be better. The fastest way to change your life is to change your environment. Most people try to change themselves while staying in the same surroundings, and they wonder why they keep falling back into old patterns. They try to be more positive, but they keep hanging around negative people. They try to be disciplined, but they stay in an environment full of distractions. They try to level up, but they surround themselves with people who are comfortable staying the same. And then they wonder why they struggle to grow. If you want to create real change, you have to get intentional about your environment. You have to design your surroundings in a way that makes success easier and failure harder. Start with your physical environment. Look around you. Is your space set up to support your goals, or is it full of distractions and clutter? If you're trying to be more focused, but your workspace is messy and filled with things that pull your attention in different directions, you are making success harder than it needs to be. If you're trying to be more disciplined with your time, but your phone is constantly buzzing with notifications, you are setting yourself up to fail. High achievers design their environment to make success automatic. They remove distractions, they create systems that keep them on track, they set up reminders that reinforce their goals. They don't leave their success to chance. They structure their surroundings in a way that forces them to win. Next, look at the people you are spending time with. Are they lifting you up or dragging you down? Are they challenging you to be better, or are they keeping you stuck? If you are constantly surrounded by people who settle, who accept mediocrity, who complain and blame others, that energy is influencing you. You might not even notice it, but over time it will shape your mindset. You will start to lower your standards, make more excuses, and accept less from yourself. If you want to elevate your life, you have to elevate your peer group. You have to get around people who expect more from you, who challenge you to grow, who won't let you settle for anything less than your best. One of the biggest breakthroughs you can have is realizing that you don't need to cut people out of your life. You just need to spend more time around the right people. Energy is contagious. Spend more time around people who are driven, who are building something great, who have a mindset of abundance and possibility, and watch how quickly your own mindset shifts. If you don't have those people in your life right now, go find them. Join communities, go to events, read books from great minds. Consume content that fuels your growth. You have access to the greatest thinkers, the most successful people, and the most powerful ideas in the world at your fingertips. If you don't have the right influences in your immediate environment, start feeding your mind with the right content. Listen to podcasts, read books, watch videos that inspire and challenge you. What you feed your mind is just as important as who you surround yourself with. Your standards are also part of your environment. The expectations you set for yourself, the way you carry yourself, the way you hold yourself accountable, these things define the results you get in life. Most people set their standards based on what is normal in their environment. If the people around them work hard, push themselves, and demand excellence, they will naturally adopt those standards. But if the people around them cut corners, make excuses, and settle for average, they will start to accept that as their normal. Your standards are everything. If you demand excellence from yourself, if you refuse to accept anything less than your best, you will rise to a higher level. But if you lower your standards to match those around you, you will stay stuck. One of the most powerful things you can do is raise your standards and refuse to go back. Decide that you will no longer tolerate mediocrity in any area of your life. Decide that you will hold yourself to a higher level of discipline, focus, and commitment. Decide that you will surround yourself with people who push you, who inspire you, who expect greatness from you. And once you raise your standards, never lower them again. Your environment also includes the beliefs and expectations of the people around you. If you are constantly surrounded by people who doubt you, who don't believe in big dreams, who think success is out of reach, that energy will affect you. Even if you are strong, even if you believe in yourself, being around that kind of negativity day after day will wear you down. But if you are surrounded by people who believe in you, who see your potential, who encourage you to go after your dreams, that energy will fuel you. The right environment will challenge you, inspire you, and push you to do things you never thought possible. One of the most important things you can do is audit your environment regularly. Take a step back and ask yourself, is my environment helping me grow, or is it keeping me stuck? Are the people around me lifting me up, or are they pulling me down? Are my habits, routines, and surroundings aligned with my goals, or are they working against me? Be honest with yourself. If something is holding you back, change it. Don't wait. Don't make excuses. Take control of your environment before it takes control of you. Because the truth is, you don't rise to the level of your goals. you fall to the level of your environment. If you want to achieve at the highest level, you need to set yourself up for success. You need to create an environment that makes growth inevitable. Surround yourself with the right people. Feed your mind with the right information. Set higher standards for yourself. Design your space for focus and productivity. Cut out distractions, eliminate negativity, and build a support system that pushes you forward. Because when you take control of your environment, you take control of your future.